Chair. It's now 10 o'clock and we are live on YouTube and ready to start the meeting.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this virtual meeting of Planning Committee. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube, and I'm therefore also saying hello and good morning to all any interested viewers that are joining us. The agenda and associated papers for this meeting are all available on the Council's website. To ensure the audio for this meeting sounds as clear as possible to those tuning in, we will be muting all microphones as a default setting to keep background noise to a minimum. When wishing to speak, I would be grateful if members would raise their hands and wait to be invited to speak by myself. Your microphone will then be unmuted and you will be able to speak. Members will be voting by raising their hands to indicate whether they are in favour of a motion, against the motion, or wishing to abstain from voting. Right, let's get started. Agenda item number 1 is to receive apologies for any absences. Can I ask if we've had any absences submitted, please?
Yes, Chairman, we've had apologies from Councillor Chris Barron and he is being substituted today by Councillor Kevin Rostons.
Thank you, Lem. Samantha, did you want me now? No. Agenda item number 2 is to consider any declarations of disclosable pecuniary or personal interests and non-disclosable pecuniary or other interests. Do we have any declarations, please? Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I've been contacted by residents about the Kingsway application. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Chair. Just to know that I know the applicant for the Showman's plan. I have met up with them frequently, but only to advise on procedure, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Madden. Nobody else? We'll move on to item agenda number 3, which is the minutes. This item is to receive and approve as correct record the meetings of the committee held on the 27th of January 2021. Can I please ask somebody to move them? Councillor Samantha Deakin. Can I also ask for a seconder? Councillor Helen Ann Smith. Does anybody wish to speak in relation to the accuracy of the minutes? Oh, can I therefore please ask for a show of hands in favour of accepting them? Councillor Barsby, Councillor Madden, Councillor Zadrozny, Councillor Smallridge, Councillor Hankin, Councillor Deakin, Councillor Rostons, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Helen Ann Smith, Councillor Lauren Mitchell. Thank you, that's been carried. Agenda item number 4. So we have 3 planning applications to consider today. The first application is pages 15 to 24. Application number is B2020-0872. The applicant is Ashfield District Council, and this is in relation to the demolition of existing garages and erection of 1 block of 4 flats land off of Chatswood Drive in Hucknall. I'll now hand you over to the planning officer to present the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As you've stated, this application proposes the demolition of 6 garages on a garage and parking area located off Chatsworth Drive in Hucknall and the construction of a block of 4 flats. The application is before members today as the council are the applicants. I do have one late item to report. We have received an additional letter of objection which reiterates the comments already covered in the report. The writer sends their apologies not being able to attend and speak because of work commitments. The application site is outlined in pink. The site lies at the end of a cul-de-sac and is surrounded by existing residential development on all sides. Here is the proposed site layout. Each unit is afforded 1 off-street parking space as well as secure cycle storage. A shared amenity space is sited to the rear of the proposal. To the north is a blank gable to existing flats, and to the east is the side elevation of a bungalow on Highfields Court. These are the floor plans and elevations of the flats. I don't think there's anything to point out in respect of them, but they're there for you to actually have a look at. Now we've got 6 photos of the site itself and surroundings. In photos 1 and 2 on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see photos from the frontage, seeing the garages, and you've got the white doors of the front of the garages. And you can see the flats on the left-hand side of photo number 2. Photo 3 shows the side gable to the flats. And photo 4 is a view looking from the site back towards properties on Chatsworth Court. Photo 5 is looking south towards Storth Avenue. The trees in the image which bound the application site are to be retained. And the last photo is a site looking towards the side of the bungalow on Highfields Court. So the proposal is for 4 2-bedroom flats. They are similar in size and scale and appearance to neighbouring blocks of flats to the north of the site. And as stated in the report, there is considered to be no detrimental impact upon the visual amenity of the area. Although we've received 4 letters of objection from local residents, including the late item, they raise concerns in regards to residential amenity and highway safety. The relevant assessments indicate that the proposal will not result in any undue detriment to the amenity of nearby residents by virtue of massing, overshadowing or overlooking. The impact of construction work on residents who work shifts is unfortunate, but cannot be a factor in the determination of this application. Future occupiers will also be afforded an adequate standard of living. Each unit will benefit from 1 off-street parking space, which is similar to existing properties in the area. Although this provision falls below the council's minimum standards for a 2-bedroom property, the site is located only a short distance from Hucknall Town Centre, and secure cycle storage is to be provided for future occupiers. A construction management plan has been provided which details that access to all neighbouring properties will be maintained at all times during construction works. The Highways Authority have raised no objections to the scheme. The proposed development scheme does not raise any significant concerns with regards to the impact on visual amenity or upon the residential amenity of existing and future occupiers. Each dwelling is afforded appropriate off-street parking provision for this location, and the cumulative impact of an additional 4 flats on highway network is deemed to be insignificant. It's therefore recommended this application be granted planning permission, subject to the conditions as stated in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mick. Okay, we'll move to the debate now. Does anybody wish to speak on this application? Can't see anybody's hands up. No. Okay. Does anybody wish to move the officer's recommendation of principle?
Sorry, Chair, we've got Councillor Zadrozny.
Oh, I forgot somebody. I looked. I couldn't see it. My apologies.
Sorry, I was fiddling with my camera. No, Chair, I was just about to do as you asked and move officers' recommendations. I think clearly we've seen this work come through Cabinet and full council, and I think we're all delighted to see underused areas or grot spots across the district come into really valuable social housing. I don't think there's anything that anybody disagrees with that. And Hucknall is a particular area where there's a huge waiting list for people to get good quality council homes. So I'm delighted to move it and look forward to the support of the committee, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Zadrozny. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Helen Ann Smith. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to the vote now. Can we have a clearly raise your hands in favour of this, please? Councillor Madigan, Councillor Barsby, Councillor Madden, Councillor Smallridge, Councillor Hankin, Councillor Deakin, Councillor Rostons, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Smith, Councillor Laura Mitchell, Councillor Zadrozny. That's clearly been carried, thank you. On to application number 2, which is pages 25 to 32. Application number is V2020-0778. Applicant is a Mr. J. Dawn. This is in relation to installation of a shed to be used as a match day ticket kiosk, covered spectator stands and privacy screening along the north and east side of the pitch perimeter fencing, Kingsway Park. I will now hand you over to the planning officer to present the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. You've taken everything I was going to say on this slide, so we'll move to the next slide. Thank you. So this is an application. The site is outlined in red on the site location plan on the left, and the areas proposed for the development are outlined in red on the block plan on the right. I will show a bit more detail of that. The proposed facilities will be situated immediately adjacent to an existing football pitch. Ticket kiosk is proposed adjacent to the gated access to the football pitch on the top right of your screen. And 2 spectator stands are proposed to the north of the pitch, nearest to the car park. The proposed screening will be 2 meters in height, situated along the northern and eastern perimeter of the football pitch. Got details of the proposed ticket kiosk on the top right, and it will be constructed from wood, and the stands will be covered by corrugated metal sheeting, which is on the top left. The proposed privacy screen will use a blackout material, as you can see the bottom right of your screen there, and it's to give the club some control over selling tickets and people watching the matches. So we have an existing car park which currently has 54 spaces and 6 disabled spaces, as you can see on the aerial photograph in front of you. There's an extension car park which has the potential to provide approximately 54 car parking spaces. This is proposed to be open on match days. I understand it's not been open in the past on match days. Got some photographs of the development site. Firstly, on the top left is the car park is off Kingsway Park, off Hodgkinson Road, and that's the access into the park itself. So the second one is the existing car parking area, and number 3 is the gates to the overspill parking area. Number 4 shows the football pitch is set behind fencing. And this is looking towards the area where the location of the spectator stands will be. And number 5 is where the stands and privacy screen on the northern boundary is to be located. And number 6 shows the gated access to the football pitch, looking towards where the ticket shed is to be located. So the site is currently a football pitch and is used, and the use is therefore established. The consideration before you today is the erection of the structures and means of enclosure. This may lead to an intensification of the use, but you also have to take into account that this could happen without the development, and would it be so great that it would be unacceptable. The proposal is considered to support the aims of the council to get people more active and involved in sport and exercise. The proposed facilities will be set behind the existing 3-metre high rebound sports fencing, which lies around the perimeter of the football pitch. Given the siting, size, scale and design of the proposed facilities, the proposal is considered appropriate within the setting of a sports and leisure facility. The nearest residential properties on Hodgkinson Road are approximately 43 metres from the pitch. The proposal would not give rise to any detrimental, overbearing, overshadowing or overlooking impacts on nearby residential occupiers. The application seeks to improve the pitch facilities and does not change the existing arrangement of booking or use of the pitch. Concerns have been raised by residents in respect of the lack of available car parking spaces in the existing car park, resulting in on-street car parking. It should be noted that this site is already used by the football club. This application seeks to improve spectator facilities. there is an overspill car park which has the potential to provide approximately 54 additional car parking spaces. Therefore, a condition is proposed to ensure this area is opened up always on match days. In conclusion, the application hopes to enhance the existing facilities which will remain available for public use, and a parking extension which will be used on match days in association with the football club to improve parking facilities and to hope to reduce on-street parking at nearby residential properties. Thank you, Chair. The recommendation is to grant planning permission.
Thank you very much, Mick. Okay, so on this one, we have 3 speakers registered for this application. So I'd like to firstly ask Ms Donna Gilbert as an objector to speak to the committee. You have an allocated time of 5 minutes, Ms Gilbert.
Thank you very much. I need to begin by saying that I and the residents I'm speaking on behalf of are not against Ashland Rovers. I personally acknowledge and appreciate what they've achieved. It is, however, the responsibility of councillors to consider the interests of not just the team, but residents around the park and other users of the park when looking at the application. I am asking that the committee defer a decision on the application until the following have been addressed. Firstly, the parking situation on Hodgkinson Road is at breaking point, and this will only get worse with the new leisure centre opening on the road. If the proposed development goes ahead, this will result in more supporters and spectators attending matches. It is the duty of the committee to ensure the health and safety of affected residents concerning the highways before a decision is made, and we call for a full assessment of the health and safety of residents on Hodgkinson Road and the streets leading off of that road. And this would also allow the council reasonable time to expand the car park properly to accommodate Ashland Rovers comfortably before facilitating an increase in cars to the site. And I would also suggest that the car park be extended permanently, because it's an issue when other sports teams are using the facility and other events are taking place on the park. As things stand, I've spoken to disabled visitors to the park that have been abused when they've been asked to vacate when people have been asked to vacate parking spots when the football is on. And they relayed their experience on the Kirkby and Ashfield Facebook page and were again subject to sneer and abuse by supporters of the team, although the comments were quickly removed. This situation cannot be allowed to get worse. Secondly, I've received complaints from residents that back onto the park, primarily from Lindley's Lane, but not exclusively, that the spotlights are left on until late at night, and during summer they have to keep their children indoors when the football is on due to foul language. I have spoken to Ash via social media, and he's agreed to meet with the residents in order to improve relations between them and the club, which is great. This meeting has still not been arranged, and given the progress with the COVID vaccine, I believe it would be the right thing to do to defer the application until the club has met with residents and listened to their complaints properly before allowing them to develop the facilities further. It would also be helpful if Ashfield District Council had a representative at that meeting, as they own the pitch on behalf of us all and are therefore stakeholders. I haven't taken up the full 5 minutes, but I've said everything that needs to be said, and I appreciate you allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms Gilbert. Can I ask now if any members have got any questions for Ms Gilbert on this one? Can't see anybody's hands up. I'm not missing anybody, am I? No. Okay, lovely, thank you. I'd now like to ask the second speaker, Mr John Dawn, as the applicant, to speak to the committee. Mr Dawn, you have an allocated time of 5 minutes. Is Mr Dawn with us?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this meeting and allowing me to speak regarding the club's planning application for improvements to the ground at Kingsway Park, which, if agreed, we feel would benefit not only the club, but the town, the residents and the local businesses. The first reason we're looking to develop and improve the facilities is obviously for the benefit of the club. We're a charter standard club of over 30 years standing, and over the past 10 years, we've risen through the leagues to where we are today. This rise in standards on the field calls for better standards off it, and thus the reason 3 years ago the club acquired grants to enable the existing improvements that you can see already around the pitch to be completed. We're the only Kirkby-based football club that could obtain these grants due entirely to the level that we play at. The higher you go, the greater the ground grading demands become, and these proposed improvements will meet these requirements. We also feel that the proposed improvements would bring Kirkby in line with its peers in the surrounding towns and villages in what it has to offer its residents from a football perspective. Despite having many park pitches, Kirkby lacks what people call a proper ground, and that's one with stands, hard standing, post and rail, dugouts and lights. Sutton have one with the facilities at Mansfield Osier Mills Football Club on Uthwaite Road. Teversall have Teversall Football Club at Carnarvon Street. Blytheth has Blytheth Football Club at Blytheth Welfare. Pinkston have Pinkston Football Club at Pinkston Welfare. Selston has Selston Football Club at the Parish Hall Ground, and Hucknall have Hucknall Town Football Club at Watnall Road, all boasting these facilities. Kirkby lags behind all of these, but we feel that the new facilities will go some way to remedy that. With the improved facilities, we feel the local residents would benefit by being able to watch a high standard of football in more comfort, whatever the weather, as they would be able to watch from a covered spectator stand, which would, hopefully, also encourage parents to bring children to the games who could then themselves be encouraged to take up a sport. We've heard a lot recently about well-being and depression, and we see this as a way of encouraging locals to get active in sport. We also support local business by way of advertising via pitch-side boards, match day programmes, and our social media sites. Hopkins Solicitors, formerly Marchants, Andrews Barber's Shop, the Duke of Wellington Pub, Angie's Calf, to name but a few, as well as the Acre Calf, who we advertise and actively promote on match days and encourage spectators to purchase pre-match and half-time refreshments from them. Our aim will be to promote more Kirkby businesses, and as a way of giving something back to the community, we would raise money for local charities. Previously, we've done this by supporting a charitable blog called Around the Grounds, but prior to COVID, we took the decision to give directly to local charities. It is therefore for all these reasons that we hope you can agree to our proposals to enable us to improve the facilities, progress the club, and at the same time, help support the local community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dawn. Do any members of the committee have any questions for Mr. Dawn to clarify on this application? Can't see anybody's hands up. No, lovely. I'll move on. Right, okay, finally, the third speaker is Councillor Dale Grounds as ward member to speak to the committee. Councillor Grounds, you have an allotted time of 5 minutes.
Morning, everyone. Ashland Rovers Football Club are a fantastic local team that are doing well and progressing through the leagues. Before the latest lockdown, they were 5th out of 16 in their current league and could have very well made it to the top if lockdown didn't hit again. They are on the path to glory with a fantastic owner and management that put their all in for the team. The installations they have applied for are regulations from the FA that teams have to follow as they progress up the leagues. They will have to charge for attendance, and they will also have to close off the match to outside people. They must do this to progress. The curtain will only be used for the 90 minutes of the match, and after that, there won't be there stopping the view, and the shed is only small, so not a huge monstrosity. And the spectator stands, well, that caters for more fans to attend and better protection in the bad weather. I helped Ashland Rovers submit this application because what we have here is a local team advancing through the leagues and becoming well known across the county. It is great for our area. Young kids watching their games will grow a passion for the sport and may one day want to play for Ashland. Also, there is a lot of young adults playing for them and advancing through the leagues. It is a great accomplishment for them, keeping them off the streets and giving them something to train and thrive for in the week. Ashland Rovers are also looking at ways to give back to their community with fundraising events and charity matches, which I will also support when they do so. Not every area can say they have a fantastic local side that supports the adults and children in their community, so why would anybody want to hinder their progress? I've spoken to the local councillor for Hodgkinson Road, Daniel Williamson, and he reports that he has received no complaints of traffic during match days. And I myself, local councillor for Kingsway, have received no complaints regarding match day noise, swearing, bad language, or the fog lights being left on. Neither of our community protection officers. There was a petition made by the opposers to stop Ashland Rovers' advancements and a counter petition by the team to support Ashland Rovers. And let's just say that the petition to support was signed nearly 100 times more than the petition against. So to me, the community looks to be on the side of Ashland Rovers Football Club. As councillors, we should be looking to improve Ashfield, and this brilliant football club and their advancements is one of these improvements we should get behind, as it improves our community and gives Kingsway Park a good name. So I urge you all to support this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Grounds. Does anybody have any members of the committee have any questions for Councillor Grounds? Councillor Zadrozny, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask Dale, Councillor Grounds, sorry if he could clarify because my sound cut out. Did he say that he and Daniel had both had no objections at all? Could he just repeat that for me?
Yeah, we've had no objections, and we've also had no complaints received at all regarding the noise and parking.
Okay, and did you say, what did you say about the petitions? The petitions were signed more than double by?
The petition supporting Ashland Rovers had nearly 100 signatures. And the petition against had, I think it was around 15.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to speak to Councillor Grounds on this one? Councillor Lauren Mitchell? No? No? Nobody else? Okay, lovely. Thank you, Councillor Grounds. I'm now going to ask Councillor Lauren Mitchell, who called in the application, to start the debate and speak to the committee on this one.
Thank you, Chair. I just first wanted to say, obviously, I'm not a councillor in Kirkby or for the area, but I was contacted by a couple of residents who wanted to raise their concerns about this application. So with me as a member of the planning committee. So I took the time to familiarise myself with the area and bring the application to planning committee today. The club has aspirations, as has been said today, which is absolutely great, of course, for the community. But there are residents, as you can see from the report, that are concerned about the impact on the surrounding residential area if this application is to go ahead, particularly around antisocial behaviour and the floodlights, as mentioned by the first speaker that we heard today. Parking, obviously, is a major issue. So although I am glad to see that this proposed condition requiring the overspill car parking extension to be open during match days, I still am worried that residents and other park users that aren't there for the match will be disrupted. So from what I've read from the comments submitted as well, the residents who have raised concerns aren't against the club growing, or they don't have any sort of vendetta against them. But they just want to be listened to on their concerns around residential impact. So I would like to move a deferral today until the council can ensure that cars won't flood the residential streets surrounding the pitch on match days. And once the council holds a meeting between residents and the club to ease any community tensions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Zadrozny, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a number of points to make, but I'll start by simply moving officers' recommendations for as printed. I think Councillor Grounds summed it up quite well when he said the numbers of the residents and who complained and who didn't. And I must admit, we've done our own sort of mini consultation in addition to in addition to the ones the council have done. Granted, Hodgkinson Road, Festus Street, Cobden and Alfred Street are small in number, but on those 5 streets, there are 12 houses that are paid up members of the Ashfield Independent Party. And I spoke to every single one of them, who all raised the same point, that they had no concerns about parking because those streets are entirely permit parking. They're entirely permit parking, so nobody who goes to visit the football or the matches or the park can park on those streets anyway. So they can't displace residents that park in that area at all. And they all, in fact, were very supportive, because in contrary to the worries about floodlighting and late night use, most of the residents felt that that was more natural surveillance. More people using the park in an appropriate way would mean that less people were using it in an inappropriate way. So they were actually quite delighted to see that there'd be more people on late at night in the evenings, because that would stop the low-level antisocial behaviour that is there. And I was pleased to hear when John spoke as well that they'd got Angie's Cafe on board, because of course Angie's Cafe is the Angie's also the proprietor of the Kingsway Park Cafe. So knowing that those local stakeholders were in support, I think is really important. And I'll just, I mean, I wasn't going to wax lyrical about Miss Gilbert's party political broadcast in support of hers and Miss Long's election campaign coming up, because I don't think it's appropriate. But clearly they've misinformed Councillor Mitchell about what the issues are, because they're just out of touch with local residents in that area, and the local residents back this up in a huge way. And I think we should be absolutely delighted and supportive that we've got such a progressive club that, as Mick Morley says, won't preclude other people from using that site, but will allow young people from Ashfield, Kirkby in particular in this area, to progress in sport at a different level. And we should be dead supportive of that. We should be incredibly proud. And I'm proud already when you go to Teversall and some of the other sites where young people are really engaged with something positive to do. As a Kirkby councillor, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Kirkby councillors on planning committee. As a Kirkby councillor, that's the sort of thing we're crying out for our district. There's that provision in Hucknall, there's that provision in Selston and in Sutton, but not for Kirkby. Kirkby's a town of 13,000 houses. Our young people deserve the same provision, and Kingsway Park is a golden gem in the middle of Kirkby as a town. And I think this is absolutely everything positive. And I recognise there are a couple of genuine concerns, but I do think all of those can be mitigated. And I don't think really at this stage in planning, I think some of them are correct about when we open the car park. Lauren, Councillor Mitchell had that correct. There are those concerns, but I don't think it warrants a deferral in this case. I think we can just, I think Lauren's articulated them very well, and we know what they are, and we can just work through them and try and make sure, because none of us want to stop the club. I think, I think cross-party people think it's a positive thing. We just need to get it right. But I think we're closer to getting it right than maybe other people do. And I think we're just 1 or 2% away from having 100% support. So instead of a deferral, I'd back us moving forward now, and then just making sure that the council clearly are aware, but working with the club, that we try and mitigate those last couple of bits that Councillor Mitchell mentioned. So on that basis, Chair, I think I'm happy to support officers' recommendations as printed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Josny. I know we've got Rachel Madden, and then we've got Councillor Keir Barsby as well. Councillor Madden, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second Councillor Zadrozny's support for officers' proposal. As quite a few councillors know, I have been involved with Kingsway Park since I first became a councillor, becoming secretary, then vice chair, then chair of the Friends of Kingsway Park. And the group was heavily behind all the improvements that you see now, and still support, albeit at arm's length, because the group isn't as active as it used to be, the continuing improvements to the park and to the lives of the residents of Kirkby and surrounding areas. Ashland have been on there for more than one season. You note in the report at the top of page 27, environmental, haven't had any complaints about noise or light pollution or anything like this. Neither, as you've heard, have the local councillors, one of which who was sitting in judgment today. I have never received complaints from it as the county councillor or highway safety grounds or anything like this. The petition at the bottom of page 27, in support 90, in objection 12, says a lot, doesn't it? Jason has mentioned that he's actually personally gone round residents that he knows in the area. No objections. I don't think any of us have been stopped in the street about this. And I saw the comments on Facebook for and against this proposal, and I didn't find many of them offensive. And as people know, I can go off the handle sometimes about people being a bit naughty. So I'm more than happy to support this. It'll enhance the club. It'll enhance the park. It'll enhance Kirkby, and it'll enhance Ashfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Madden. Councillor Barsby.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, I'm going to support this application. First of all, I'd just like to say that having been involved in football myself for over 40 years, 45 years, and going through different leagues, managing and playing football and things like that, this will enhance Kirkby Town Centre, the surrounding areas, businesses as well. What you've got to take into consideration is it's not 365 days a year. A football season lasts from the start of the season, which is round about end of July, when it's pre-season. So there'll only be pre-season games. It will then go to May, but it's not all those months as well, because what you've got is you'll probably have 20 teams within a league. You'll have 20, 24 teams in a league. You'll roughly have only about 14 home league games. So 14 days out of 365 days a year that potentially, and from what we've heard today, people aren't complaining about it or haven't complained about it. For those 14 home game matches, and I will go for a cup run as well, you could have 3 or 4 extra out of 365 days to have a minimum of 20 home games, then surely to enhance all the provisions around Kirkby as well, especially that one, to make that better for youngsters, adults alike, can only come at a good time during this pandemic, because it's getting out when we can get out to these areas for state and mental health and all things like that. I hope it comes off, and I will be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barsby. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Williamson, please. And then I've got Councillor Smallridge after.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Fabulous. I'm not going to speak for very long on this because I don't think I'm going to provide any information that's not already been quite eloquently covered by Councillor Grounds, Councillor Strosny, Councillor Madden, all the other speakers on this. Just looking at the objects, I just really feel the need to reiterate that as the local councillor for a lot of the streets in the area directly affected around Kingsway Park, such as Hodgkinson Road, Cobden Fest, everything else, whilst I appreciate that Councillor Mitchell may have had some people to it, as others may have, I have never received a single complaint about Ashland Rovers in the near 2 years that I've been a councillor for Kirkby Cross and Portland. I have not received a single objection about this application. Nobody has stopped me, nobody has rang me, nobody has sent me an email, and I do welfare calls daily to my ward board to Hodgkinson Road probably once a week to check on people to see how they are. There's been ample opportunity for this, and nobody has ever raised a single objection about Ashland Rovers or the use of the pitch. I fundamentally agree that I think it actually makes the nighttime usage safer as we have more people using the parks in the appropriate way. And as Councillor Drosny quite clearly stated, and I'll back him on because he's more than correct, Hodgkinson Road and all the surrounding streets are permit parking. There is no possible way that this could actually lead to an increase on parking on match days on those roads. For all these reasons, Chair, I see absolutely no way that we can do anything other than support this application. And I will certainly be doing that for the benefits that it's going to bring in terms of sport, in terms of health, in terms of provision for the residents of Kirkby. I've got nothing else to say on it, Chair, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Williamson. Councillor John Smorridge, please.
Yeah, I had to leave the meeting for a couple of minutes because I had a coughing fit, but I was listening to everything. And I think this is in the interest of the young people. Everything should be done to encourage them. And this sort of game and on this sort of site will, I'm sure. And the other point I did raise was the overflow car park is vehicle worthy. It's got a treatment on it so that it's not just grass. So it won't become a muddy thing. So it shouldn't concern anybody. It won't become a mud pool. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smallridge. Anybody else wishing to speak? No. So we'll move to the vote. Can you clearly raise your hand if you wish to vote? Oh, my apologies. Councillor Laura Mitchell, you proposed a deferral on this one. Do we have anybody who is seconding this? Louise, then I'll come to you, sweet. No, Louise Ellison, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think you've covered my point. It hasn't been seconded, so so members will be voting on Councillor Drosny's motion to go with officer recommendation.
Excellent, thank you. So can we have a clear show of hands to go with this then, please? Thank you. Councillor Madigan, Councillor Barsby, Councillor Madden, Councillor Smallridge, Councillor Hankin, Councillor Deakin, Councillor Rostance, Councillor Helen Ann Smith, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Drosny. Great, thank you. Anybody wishing to vote against? Anybody abstaining? Councillor Lauren Mitchell. That's been carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the last application for today, which is pages 33 to 44. Application number is V2020-0677. Mrs. E. Whitting is the applicant. Change of use of land to travelling show people yards together with drainage and highway infrastructure. I'll pass you over now to planning officer to present the application.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the introduction as well. This application seeks planning consent for the creation of 7 new plots for travelling show people. The proposal includes significant landscape planting, the installation of new internal access road, and the provision of drainage. The proposal would form an extension to the existing travelling show people site off Park Lane. Next slide, please. The application site is shown in red and presently comprises of agricultural land. The site lies to the west of the existing provision for the travelling show people off of Park Lane, and access to the site is to be taken from the existing site access on Park Lane. You see before you the proposed site layout and the 7 pitches numbered. Each plot is subdivided for both residential and business use. You'll also see that the existing hedgerow around the perimeter of the site is to be retained with any gaps filled. Significant tree planting is also proposed along the site's northern, southern and western boundaries. Hedgerow planting is also proposed within the site either side of the new access road. You have a series of photos before you. Number 1 and 2 show the application site. The existing travelling show people's yard lies beyond the hedge line on the left-hand side of the images. Photo 3 shows the access to the site, which will be taken from Park Lane. Photo 4 shows that the new internal road will be sited where the fairground equipment is sited. I think you see it behind at the rear of the photograph. And again, you see the existing provision for travelling show people at Spring Meadows and the commercial development to the east of the site at number 6. So the key considerations you have before you are on the slide above. We know that the application site is located within the countryside and is agricultural land. We also know that the council is required to set plot targets for travelling show people, which address the likely permanent and transit site needs for travellers in the area. We've had the initial findings through from the Greater Nottingham Gypsy Traveller and Accommodation Needs Assessment, and this identifies a need for an additional 15 plots for travelling show people between 2020 and 2038 within Ashfield. Policy HG9 of the local development plan outlines that sites for travelling show people outside of the Greenbelt will be permitted, therefore permitting development for travelling show people in the countryside where there is an established need. We've had 16 letters of support in relation to this proposal. The additional needs for plots for travelling show people has been identified, and there are no existing allocations for such uses within the district. The proposal would form a logical extension to an existing provision, and the principle of the development is therefore acceptable. It's noted that the site is located within a mature landscaped area. The proposed car park extension and associated works are considered not to give rise to a detrimental impact on the long-term visual amenity of the area. The scheme also ensures a sympathetic approach to the development of the site through the retention, management and supplementing of the hedgerows. Hedgerow planting is also taking place within the site, and as I've stated, so is additional tree planting along the boundaries of the development, and this helps to embed the proposal in the natural setting. The proposal would also be in accordance with the actions for the mature landscape area. There will be some temporary disruption to local ecology arising from the scheme, but that can be appropriately mitigated and compensated for, ensuring that any impact is marginal. No objections have been received in regards to the proposal. Given the location of the proposal, the development wouldn't give rise to any undue impact upon the amenity of nearby residential properties. They're quite some distance away. Access to the proposed development is to be obtained via the new vehicular access, as stated, and no alterations are proposed to that access. The Highway Authority have assessed the proposal and confirmed it's not expected to have a significant impact on the highway network in this location. They raise no objection to the development scheme. So in conclusion, there are considered to be no significant issues in respect to visual and residential amenity, ecology, or in regards to highway safety. Conditional consent is therefore recommended for this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Christine. I'm now going to ask Councillor Rachel Madden, who called in the application, to start the debate and speak to the committee. Thank you, Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I as you can see from the report, I called it in for a couple of reasons: highway safety and the impact on the neighbourhood. Highway safety was a concern when the original site was first proposed. And I'm pleased to say that the Highway Authority is agreeing with me that there are no problems with highway safety. There has been nothing since the site has been first developed years ago. The site in existence, as people who know will have leafleted, etc. around there, is a very well maintained, screened, etc. site, and this can only be an enhancement. There is a need because quite a few of the families on the existing site, their children have grown up and have got their own little business now, so are in need of an extra site, preferably near family members for support. This last year has caused an awful lot of problems for the travelling and show people community, as you can expect. So it's on an agricultural field, which was never really used much. So it's not going to be a loss to the local area. As Christine has already outlined, the hedges are going to be enhanced. There's going to be extra soft landscaping, etc., etc. No objections received. If anything, I would have expected something from the Countryman pub. But no, nothing, because they know it hasn't impacted on their business at all. In fact, until coronavirus, they were expanding left, right, and centre. So I have great pleasure in proposing officers' recommendation, and I hope that the committee will support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Madden. Councillor Zadrozny, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just to concur with Councillor Madden, anyone who goes to imbibe at the lime burners will know what a very well maintained site it is, and you can see there that there's no highways issues now really with all the industrial park on the other side, so I'm very happy to second this, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Zadrozny. We have a proposer and we have a seconder. We'll move to the vote, please. A clear show of hands if you are in favour of this motion. Councillor Madigan, Councillor Barsby, Councillor Madden, Councillor Smallridge, Councillor Hankin, Councillor Deakin, Councillor Helen Ann Smith, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Zadrozny, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Rostins. That's a unanimous one. Fantastic, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of today's agenda. I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance, officers, members, and anybody that may have been watching on YouTube. I'll call this meeting to a close, and please, everybody, continue to stay safe. Thank you very much.